Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Telkom Gaming's brief look into Torment, Tides of Numenera. I hope I got that right. I'm here with fellow journalist Sam. We've been adventuring through the game over the past week or two and have just got some footage playing in the background here, just as fairly early on in the game, but just to show you what it looks like and what to expect. Now, Sam, let's just talk about the world a little bit of Numenera. It's a place that has been written about in a fair amount of books, but this world is definitely alive, I would say. There's a lot of interaction, but as long as you like reading, it's sort of that old isometric style. What is your sort of experience with the world so far?
Well, coming from a background where I haven't really played many of this type of game, I don't have much experience in tabletop games either. It's quite a novel experience for me. Used to more hack and slash type games like Diablo, where the storyline is it's ever present, but it's not overpowering. So coming into this universe, there's a lot of detail, which is really nice coming from like a background where I enjoy fantasy. I enjoy my fantasy novels. It's very much an overwhelming amount of information. So coming in as a newcomer, it was quite challenging. But having said that, I'm really now, after having experienced some of the world and having completed some of the missions and realizing that maybe there's a different nuance to this game. I might fail a mission, but unlock something else, kind of thing. Which is, it's a different experience because a lot of the games I play are also quite linear.
Yeah.
So having a world that is so intricate, where every choice you make directly impacts either the next mission that you do or some other mission that is now unlocked for you is quite an experience. And the level of detail in the world is quite astounding.
Coming from it from sort of I actively play in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. This is very much in the spirit of that, in that you pretty much get dumped in a world of some sort, and then it's up to you to find your adventure as such. In that you don't really, there is an objective, and we're not going to spoil any of the storyline for you here, but basically something happens, and you are suddenly just sort of in this world, and it's up to you how to create and go about that adventure. But it's also about how you go about doing the adventuring as well, because in Tides of Numenera, this game, because it's an isometric RPG set in that Dungeons and Dragons universe, there are roles and different things. You can see at the moment, I'm busy going through a character sheet. Samantha can't see, but I can. But you can see you've got your intellect, your might, your speed, and these can be used to do things like sleight of hand, persuasion, intimidation, to handle various situations. That's amazing, because that's directly lifted out of Dungeons and Dragons. You know, that sort of role-playing games that I love so much, and the world is absolutely filled with that. Because if you wanted to stick to the main mission in this game, you absolutely could, and not touch a side quest. But if you are intrigued by the world and you end up speaking to random citizens, as you'll see a little bit later on in this video, I accidentally find a quest because I clicked in a certain place, and a story started to unfold. It's just sort of that sort of random thing that happens in Dungeons and Dragons situations. That feels almost like there's a dungeon master present, in that the more that you interact with the world, the more that it's going to give you, if you understand what I mean, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. For instance, one of the missions that I've just done happened to speak to a random passerby, and he again gave me a piece of the mission that I probably wouldn't have had access to if I hadn't spoken to him.
Yeah.
But having access to it gave me a different range of options when I was handing in my mission. And as you say, choosing different, I would say, classes, because that's what I'm familiar with. I myself am playing a Might Hero, so I went for a glaive. But within that, I went for quite medium range combat, which is now probably not the greatest of choice, given the companions that I was given or selected in this case. Because battle is a lot more challenging than I expected. Next time I will know I would rather go for a mage, but giving the player that choice at the beginning and saying, this is what you can do, but within that there's so much more. it's not just I'm a might wielder,
Yeah.
but within that, I've also got other aspects of my character which influence different areas that are not necessarily seen as might. And a lot of my character choices as well, I'm trying to play a certain role, and a lot of the time, the choices that I'm given, you kind of think, should I do this for my role?
Yeah.
Or should I do this because, the one decision in particular has been bothering me. It was a life and death situation, and my character wanted me to choose one way, and I would
Yeah.
have personally chosen another. And what it has done is completely blocked me off from another aspect of the game that I now cannot investigate because I may have killed a
Awkward.
person.
Bit awkward. Yeah, I mean,
In that way, the world building and knowing now what I know now, my next playthrough will be very different, and my experience will be completely different, which I think is nice because a lot of games, once you get to the end, that's it. There's replayability to a certain extent, but with something like this, where the world is so intricate and where all your choices are they're so tailored to your experience.
yeah.
You could play this game 5, 10 times and never have the same experience, which I think is amazing, especially given games nowadays that are so expensive.
Yeah.
Having a game with such a replay value is both rare and it is very much appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many small things that make this such an in-depth experience. It's like also the way that you handle, as we can see a little interaction happening here, just in front of me. This is also the way that you can choose to go about doing these interactions. If you want to be sort of a lawful good, talking Dungeons and Dragons terms, lawful good person, then you can, be the honest person, go about it honestly. If you want to be the trickster, you can have some persuasion and try and get some stealth and sleight of hand in there. And these impacts have even bigger decisions on the world. For example, what happens here in this scenario impacts heavily what happens on a little bit later on in the game, because you accidentally release, I'd say accidentally, you release this creature into the wild, and then end up having to go and fight him later on, or perhaps fight him later on.
Can we just say attempt to fight?
We
have been there. I have had much experience with the death system in this game, and I can say that while it is not recommended that you die so often, it's a system that it somehow fits the whole concept of the game.
Yeah.
It's not just another death screen. It's what have I gained from this experience? And you have to have gained something from that experience, or else you will never get any further in the game. You can't go into a fight thinking this is it, There's always something more that has the potential to happen down the line,
Yeah.
which I also think is great. In the first fight you get a choice. Do you slaughter the people that have attacked you, or do you set them free? And obviously that right from the get-go, you're going to have that. If regardless of what your decision was, it's going to affect something else down the line, but you have no idea until you get to that point, which is also quite exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we took two different paths, just to talk about that decision briefly. We took two completely different paths, and it's impacted our games and our parties, who we have in our party, dramatically from within the first few hours of the game. Our experience had been sort of completely different, which shows you exactly how different these playthroughs can be. So there's a lot of replayability here, but ultimately it's those impacts and decisions you have, because it's not a short game either, have lengthy consequences as well. Because I chose a certain person at the beginning, there's certain things that didn't happen for me but did happen for you, for example. And also talking to your companions about the different stories gets you different quests, gets you different decisions later on in the line. So it's ultimately, like, the consequences are so huge that it's hard to even put into words. I don't know.
I think it just makes every decision you make even more important. Even the small decisions. It's just deciding who to talk to and deciding which way you're going to go with that person in particular. You could go the aggressive route like I did, which is very much playing an aggressive might character who doesn't have much persuasion.
Yeah.
Is challenging. It's challenging. playing into that character. I'm normally my normal style. I would normally play as a support or a mage or something like that. So playing as a Martyr in particular is quite difficult.
Yeah.
But just some of the interactions we've had because of the character that I'm playing will be different from the interactions that you will have had.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is quite interesting.
And subsequent quests and or actions and or adventures that come because of those decisions is just ultimately what Torment, I think, Tides of Numenera is. You know, it's a it's so decision based, this game. It really feels like sort of Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, those old isometric RPGs. Torment Planescape 1999 released is, well, this is essentially the sequel to that, but
it's a spiritual successor,
and it feels like those games that were built in that Dungeons and Dragons universe. And I think that's what really sealed the deal for me. Like, if you are a fan of isometric RPGs, I think this is definitely one that you should check out.
Well, coming from a background that I haven't played a lot of that type of game, initially the information overload was as it is. It's an overload, and it got to a point where I wasn't enjoying myself. But having actually explored the world a little bit more, perhaps better understood some of the systems, I'm enjoying the game a lot more, and I'm really intrigued to see how it all fits in, especially with the whole the actual tides themselves. Feeding in your decisions, your interactions with people, how they feed into the actual tides themselves.
Huge consequences.
It's going to be interesting moving on. Based on the decisions that I'm making, my world may be in great peril. Just putting it out there.
My world's just fine. My world's happy.
I may be looking at quite a bleak future.
Oh dear, that doesn't sound too good. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
only time will tell.
only time will tell, and I'm sure that you'll be joining us as we adventure through the world of Numenera. That's just been a brief discussion about what you can expect here in Torment Tides of Numenera. I want to say it one more time just to make sure that I get it 100% correct. This has been Sam and Richard from Telkom Gaming. So we'll sign off and see you next time.